Coming up on the opening bell, let's take a look at some movers. Alibaba shares, they took a hit after the Financial Times reported that Japan's SoftBank moved to sell almost all of its remaining stake in the Chinese tech giant, but then they rebounded. So kind of an interesting situation here, Brad, because you would think when a big shareholder sells a stake, even if it maybe wasn't a complete shock, that still it would be weighing on the shares. You see here, it's really been a very gradual wind down from a very large stake that SoftBank had in Alibaba of as much as 34% at the peak. Now, according to the Financial Times, that stake's going to go to 3.8%. SoftBank has had some troubles here, and it's been winding down a lot of holdings. Right. So maybe it's because people are seeing it more as a referendum on SoftBank than on Alibaba. I don't know. Yeah,
I think so. And even as we think about what Alibaba has had to go through in its own contentious relationship with China and the broader kind of tech landscape within China has, over the past 2 years, run into regulatory issues with the nation. And so with that in mind, it had been under pressure for basically the past 2 years, even outside of the broader tech downturn that we had seen last year. And so with that in mind, I think for Alibaba in this relationship with SoftBank, and even as SoftBank has sputtered on some of its own vision funds that they have been able to put together and amass billions of dollars essentially, but has not necessarily seen the returns that some of the investors had looked for within that, this could be a broader referendum that not only is seen on SoftBank, but SoftBank perhaps just needing to liquidate some of its positions as well for operational perspective.
Yeah, and Masa-san has said, the head of SoftBank has said he is focused now on the eventual listing of ARM. That is the big semi company that SoftBank took over in 2016. And so part of this presumably is to help fund that whole process. So that's something to keep in mind as well. The timing of this is also interesting. Alibaba just announcing it's going to do that split right into 6 different parts.
Right. Yeah.
And so maybe SoftBank judging that this is the time before that gets completed to wind this down even further.
And not knowing what type of valuation each of those businesses as a split entity would carry as well, or which maybe they pick and choose. Maybe they come back into Alibaba in some facets as the split becomes kind of more clear as to when all of the components begin trading, but then additionally what type of revenue base each of those as a separate entity and the type of data that each of them will have access to as well. I think that'll be a key decision in terms of any investor that's looking to get into one individual portion of a split Alibaba business, SoftBank included on that, if they were to pick and choose, put together their own basket of holdings of the split Alibaba entities.